Hi there, guys. Um, so I wanted to come back this morning and I wanted to kind of go over what I thought would be some good discussion questions. Didn't get any on the video so far, which is fine. Um, but I wanted to go into my thoughts on it, and I also wanted to post some questions. So Um, I would love for you guys to interact with me if you want to. Um, and also, um, wanted to, I did want to say thank you guys for, I don't know if I don't seem to have the equal amount of listening to the first part and the second part, which is, you know, that's fine. But it seems as if I got more people listening to the beginning of it and not so much the second, but either way. The second is where the rest of the breakdown takes place, and it's where we can really actually have a full discussion. But anyway, I wanted to go over it a little bit. Um, just some questions that I came up with. Um, and then I'm not sure if after this, we'll see how long it takes, how the questions and answers go, and so forth. Um, and then I'll probably move on to Jezebel and everything. And as far as the doing a channel for this, I don't really know. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to kind of, um, I think I'm going to kind of get a few videos under my belt first. Um, I have created a playlist so that I can put these particular videos in playlists. So, but anyway, let me go ahead and get on before I get interrupted, and then I got to start the video again. So the first question that I have, and I'm going to answer these questions as well. Not sure how I'm going to answer them at the moment, but I'm going to answer them. So overall, what have you ever heard of Lilith? And I'll answer that first, of course. Um, I can't really say that I, growing up and everything. Of course, I'd never heard of Lilith. I think the first sign or first I've ever heard of Lilith probably came from my ex, because I do have to say, he's the one that kind of introduced me to a lot of alternatives other than the Bible. It was just the Bible for me. Had been a minister, as I have told you guys before, over 15 years. Studied lots of theology courses and things like that. Mainly just stayed in the church teaching whatever, and the church really doesn't go into Lilith and things like that. And if it does, um, it basically would kind of tell you it's probably a demonic teaching. She was demonic, whatever. Stay away from it. Don't withdraw from the Bible. That's one of the things that one of the when I first got called to ministry, the pastor's wife at that time was kind of the big teacher for us ministers in that church. And so she, that was one of her things, don't stray too far from the Bible. Um, and I see her point in a way, if you're new, kind of, sort of. But then again, I think that it's important to have that comparison and to go ahead and stray outside so that you can have these other objectives and it won't just come to you as some big, great, horrible shock, because that is how it came to me. When I got a lot of the outside of the Bible type teachings, it scared me. It really scared me. It unsettled me. It unnerved me. Uh, because she had put a warning on that. It wasn't just like, oh, don't just read other Bibles. Like, it's going to mess you up. It's going to confuse you. Don't, just don't do it. It's demonic. I don't think people should come at it like that. I think people should come at it with an open mind. And the fact that if you truly believe in God, believe in the Bible, believe in Christianity, believe in whatever it is that you believe in, then reading something else or whatever should not completely take you off course. Like, it's read it from a standpoint of learning. Read it from a standpoint of it's okay, you're not going to blow up because you read something else. I actually think it's very important to do that when you want to, when you're ready, all that. But I think it should be done because I think a lot of times Christians don't really have a foot in so many ways to stand on because all they have is the Bible says, the Bible says, the Bible says. And to, point to the scriptures and everything. I mean, like, that's how I was. Like, I tore him up with scripture. Like, nobody was able to come at me with anything outside of anything because I just went straight back to scripture and just ripped people apart. I really was. I mean, I was, but it's good. But at the same time, you need to be able to know what they're talking about so that you can go back if you want to use scriptures and tear them up. You know what I'm saying? So, but um, getting back to what I knew of Lilith, that was probably the first time that I'd heard anything of her, whatever. And the kind of person that I am, when I hear something new, any kind of new idea, new word, new anything, I'm going to research it. I'm going to research it until I can't research it anymore, or until I am satisfied with the understanding that I have or that I'm getting. And so it's what I did. I don't think I delved into Lilith so much, but I just kind of dabbled with it. um, but at this point and at this day, I can say that I did just hear that she was evil. She spoke the name of God and flew off into the abyss, and she was forever cursed. That's what I'd always heard. Um, and so um, I just figured she was something evil. Wasn't no need for me to, go into it or anything like that. And so I never really touched it. Um, so that's what I heard. I'm just going to leave it at that. That is what I had always heard about Lilith, just something evil that you don't have any need to go into that. So the next question, and if you guys would, let me know what you all have heard of her. So what do I think of her? Of course, then I thought she was evil. At this point in reading, and I have to say also, I actually had found another. There's so many writings on her, so many, and apparently there's another one that I found on my phone that I had downloaded and have not read. So I'm going to read that too, and I can't remember what that one is called, but I'm gonna read that also, because it's just fascinating to me. Um, Overall, what I think right now of Lilith is that Lilith probably would be probably from what I have learned of feminism, because I have let me throw this out real quick, and I think I've probably said it before, but as far as feminism, I didn't know anything about feminism a few years ago, just really a few years ago. I learned about feminism, and I first heard about feminism here on YouTube when Black men were just aggressively coming at Black female content creators, and they were just At that time, they were really just tearing black women up. I mean, with just their rhetoric, with their foolishness, with their, I mean, just, it was horrible. I think black women now have finally begun to come together, and we've gotten a big hand up from a lot of creators, females, but people like Paris Milan, people like Cynthia G, of course. There's another lady, Miss Archduchess or something like that. I listen to her every now and again. Um, she's on a strong, yeah. Anyway, but and so it's good because I think the women have been able to join forces and come back, and it's good because it was really horrible. You know, and I told you guys, you know, that was why I had taken a hiatus at one time. I stopped even doing a lot of content because of that. Like I couldn't even put out a video without having guys, black men, just come to me, not even look at the video, not listen to the video, anything, but just attack me, and it was just crazy. Like it was crazy, you know. But I won't get into that. But I learned about feminism, and I'm going somewhere with this, from black men on YouTube because they kept calling me a feminist or whatever. And it's just like, I really didn't even know what that was. I honestly really thought, and forgive my ignorance, I used to think feminism was a bunch of white ladies in the 60s, probably smoking, probably a little brash, probably all lesbian, who hated men. That's what I thought. And so I didn't know anything about it, you know, and but I would just continue to get bombarded with you're a feminist, you're a feminist, you're a feminist. I'm just like I remember I told one guy like, dude, I don't even know what a feminist is. Like I mean, because I really honestly thought black women could not be feminists. I'm like, what? I don't know what that is. Like a bunch of white women back in the '60s. Like I don't know what that is. And then I sat and tried to, you know, logically sit and explain and talk to this one particular black guy, which we know is you can't do, especially when they're on that type of frequency. And I'm like, dude, like, where would I even learn anything about feminism? Like, seriously, I thought it was something that was kind of past. Like, I thought feminism was like a handful of women do it, like somewhere in some back clubhouse or whatever. And but he was like, your mama taught you how to be a feminist, and I'm like, and I know he meant it that way. So yeah, first of all, I'm offended because you're talking about my mom who's deceased, who I knew very well was not into no feminism. All my mom ever did was work. Like that was it. All I ever seen my mom do was work. My mama really didn't have any friends or family around or anything like that. She lived a very close, closed in, sheltered life with just us and her children. And it's really the kind of life that I live. Like I'm not in no clubs and organizations and things like that. My mom wasn't. And she's like, what do you mean? My mom taught me how to be a feminist. I'm like, you know, but yeah, it's foolish. My mom, right. Um, so I think getting back to Lilith, the reason I brought up feminism was, like I said, I think Lilith would be spearheading feminism. I think, and I don't say that in a bad way, because at the heart of feminism is nothing but equality. I know you. I think you have different sects of feminism. I guess different ones may teach certain things. Excuse me. I guess maybe black feminists, who I really haven't looked into very much either, may have a different type of agenda than white women, which I could see that because we have different needs. Um, but at the end of the day, and the base of what I know about feminism is about equality. It's about equality. equal rights for women. And if you go into the history of women and the oppression of women, and how husbands were basically, I mean, women were basically like property at one point. And a lot of men still think of women as property. Um, but feminism was to help get women out from under all that, you know. And like I say, there's a lot of men I think at this point who would love for women to go back to that. It's crazy and it's horrible, but it is. But my take on it is, as I say, giving women free and equal rights. Now, let me go a little bit into Lilith with that. Lilith's standpoint, in my opinion, and some of this may be, I may put out a spoiler alert, disclaimer, whatever, if you are just watching this video and have not looked at the readings that I did and things like that, just giving you warning that it may be spoiler alerts because I am going to go into it some. So if you don't want to hear that, go back to the first two videos, please. Um, Lilith talked about from the very beginning that we came here together. We're partners. Like God didn't put, and if you go back to the readings, God didn't put Adam just head top over everything, especially during the time of him and Lilith. Like they were created together, they came here together, they were in a partnership together. And I use the analogy of if two people, men or women, bought a company and they both put in 50% of the money and everything into that business, who's the boss? And so that's how I look at it with Lilith and Adam. Like they were co-creators. They were in it together. And I think that's the standpoint that Lilith came from. Like you didn't let me name nothing, you know, you basically just coming up here telling me that God said for you to do such and such, such and such. And it's just like, I look at it as if the creator created both of them in his image, as it said, or in its image, because there's some, I'm gonna go into that a little bit more. That seems like Lilith said something about the creatrix. So that's like, you know, she was referring to it as a female. Um, but if the power that created them in that image, its image, then I would think that both of them would be able to hear from God. I would think that there would be some type of telepathy type, inner being knowing type thing that the creator, creatrix, whatever, um, would speak to them. So I would think that it wouldn't be that just Adam would be able to hear from God and not Lilith, because Lilith was like, well, I didn't hear him say that, because in one of the accounts, Lilith had went off to like make them a place to sleep and a bed, and she put the leaves and everything, as the story talked about, and made it all nice and beautiful and things like that for them, when apparently God said that, um, when Adam said that God told him to create all the animals, because he came back and told her that. And she was just like, well, I didn't hear him say that or hear the creator say that. So, you know, but anyway, um, I do think that it was a more of a frustrating type thing for Lilith, because her standpoint was like, we are in this together. Like you are trying to assert dominance over me, and we're supposed to be partners, you know. So, but anyway, that's what I think of her. So the next question I wrote was, of what do I think of, well, what do I think of the comparison to Eve? Um, I hope this phone doesn't go off anymore, y'all. I'm sorry, but I do have to keep my, gonna be on my way to work a little bit. I do have to keep my ringer and the sounds on, so forgive me for that. But what do I think of Lilith in comparison to Eve? To break that down simply, I think there's two types of women in the world. I think there's Eves and there's Liliths. And I feel like, I mean, I don't want to say I feel like Lilith is stronger than Eve because even the sweetest, most kind, gentle, submissive women have their own strength. It's just a lot of time the strength a lot of times is in the sweetness, in the lowliness. It's in the meekness and everything. And a lot of people don't see those qualities as strength, but they are. And so Lilith is just a lot more out front and vocal with her. But I think there's strength also in the qualities of Eve. Um, and I feel like them in comparison, Eve, of course, was the follower. Eve, of course, was the okay, really, really naive as far as, well, Adam said this and Adam said don't do that. At the end of the day, um, I feel like I'm gonna keep it with the comparison of them. I think Lilith's qualities, of course, were just a lot more vocal and out front than Eve's. I think Eve had her strengths as well. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. I mean, you got strong, more boisterous, more outgoing women, and you have those who are a little more sweet, a little more gentle, a little more kind. I don't mean to say sweet as if Lilith wasn't sweet, because actually, in a lot of ways, she was. She just wanted things to be fair. But I guess I mean, that gentle spirit more so. I think, as I said, there's still women today. There's Eves and there's Liliths today, you know. Next question. What what do I think of um, Eve herself? I'm gonna talk about Eve herself and I'm gonna kind of use myself as an example, because at one point in my life I do feel that I was very Eve. Um, but I feel like Eve was taken from Adam, and I think I posed this analogy to you guys during the second video, I think, where I think she was maybe taken from Adam so that she would be more like Adam in the sense of having more of his mind, understanding what he really wanted. So God took her from Adam, you know, and so maybe that's why she was able to be so obedient to him, so under his control, command, whatever. Um, and I don't know, God allowed it, and so, but I feel like at the end of the day, a woman like Eve, like I say, in kind of like with myself, is the kind of woman that is very soft spoken, follow your man, listen to your man, cook, clean, do what he wants, try to make him happy and everything. But I think at some point she was going to want more rights. I think at some point she was going to not necessarily get tired of following, but kind of get tired of the one-sidedness, because at the end of the day, a relationship like that it becomes very one-sided. It becomes very just what the man wants, and eventually you get tired of that. You want, why don't you fix me a plate? Why don't you, rub my feet tonight? Why don't you give me a massage? Why don't you, if you can cook, why don't you cook something that I like and, cater to me at some point? I think a woman that just gives to a man at all times becomes very frustrated. It may take years, but very frustrated. She's gonna start eventually looking for some. What's the word I'm looking for? She's gonna start looking for some. It's not retribution. She's gonna start looking for some equal treatment as well. And I say that I was very Eve-like because I was like that. My younger days, I was like that in my marriages. I gave, catered to my man, whatever he wanted, tried to make things good for him, whatever. And when it's just all take and no give, I eventually found myself being unhappy and not and doing things, even though I did it, I was doing things grudgingly. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember one time my ex told me that, yeah, you will do things, but you roll your eyes, or you will do things, but you make a face. And it's just like, I had never noticed that. But I probably did because my face is very animated. It's very, very hard for me to hide how I feel. It's very hard for me. And so, yeah, I probably was, but that was probably because I was not getting any reciprocation. Is that a word? I hope so. I think that's the word I was looking for. Um, but yeah, I think women like Eve run themselves ragged. I really do. And I think, um, yeah, I don't think it's beneficial for women to do that. Um, what do I think is Eve? Okay, what do you think of Adam overall? And guys, remember, I'm asking you all to, try to, if you can go through the whole video and write down the questions, if you all would kind of come back at me and answer those questions too, or just give me your overall synopsis of the story. Um, I would love to do a live. It's like I don't really know how to do that yet, and I don't know if you got to have a certain number of followers. I mean, I don't know how to do that. But what I think of Adam overall, at the end of the day, I think Adam, and it's funny because Lilith said that in one of the stories. She said that the way Adam was acting made him look very frail and fragmented, is what I think she said. And when I look at it, I see the same thing in a man who wants nothing but servitude from a woman, and he has to be the head, and he has to dominate over her, and you got to lay under me or whatever. And just with that superiority attitude, that man is above woman. That spirit is so much still in the world. It's so much. Um, I think men like that are narcissists. I think men like that are basically on the thin edge of being psychopathic. Um, and I think it's a flaw. I think that it's the wrong way to look at women. Women are not put here to serve men. Women have their own minds. They have their own desires. They have their own abilities. They have their own smarts. They have their own wisdom. I think we were here to be partners and to come together with all those skills and um, all of those qualities for each other to make this world a better place. Um, but I think men like Adam need to have that domination over women to feel powerful or to feel whatever. And I don't see a need for it. It's kind of like what Lilith was saying, when she was asking him, like, like naming the animals is going to put separation and stuff. Like, why? Like, I don't see the need for it. So the question comes, did God really tell him that, or is that just something he wanted to do? I don't really know. He said God did. There are accounts in the Bible, the way the Bible is written, that um, the Christian Bible, that God did tell him, you know. But my thing is, if he and Lilith were both brought forth at the same time, they both had the same abilities and everything, why couldn't Lilith hear him also if he told him that, right? You know. Um, but yeah, I think it's very weak, very frail men who are looking for some type of identity or whatever to dominate over a woman that carry that type of attitude. And it's still very prevalent in our world today. That's what I think about him. I think he was very, very narcissistic. I really do. Even down to the fact of when she started asking him, like, well, I mean, like, you didn't leave me a book. But she didn't say that. But, like, you didn't leave me nothing to name. And that's kind of, I could see it. I could see her saying like something like that if we're partners. Now, if she was the coming from the aspect of Eve, then maybe not. Okay, he did it, my man did it, my husband did it. Okay, it's fine with me. But when you're coming from the standpoint point of Eve, of Lilith, yeah, I can understand. I can definitely understand her asking. Um, so Eve and Lilith. Um, so Eve and Lilith, I think, I think Eve would have definitely had to eventually make a decision on what she would have wanted to do with, I guess, the friendship of her and Lilith, because with Lilith, with Lilith's bold stance and uh, being so determined in her feelings and thoughts, I think eventually what she would have done was she would have begun to cause Eve to start to think more. It said that Eve was very naive, and we can see she's very naive. And I think naivety does not come from you being stupid or whatever. I think it just comes from a point of you just being so, just laying down, submitting, and accepting, and not really questioning why. And I say that because that is how I was. Like I used to be that way too. Just kind of take my man's word for it. He's the head, he lead, just let him do it. And so I didn't question a lot of things. But when you know, and I think that's another reason why a lot of men who have wives like that don't want their wives around other women and other people and things like that, because they get to kind of do things and run things the way that they want without any interference. And I think a woman like Lilith would have caused Eve to question, I really do, and start looking at her stance in her relationship. And it would have been like, yeah, well, why do I have to make your plate all the time? Like, why is it that you have to pick the restaurant all the time? Why is it that, we have to do this way or in your way, or nothing at all? Like, why? And I think that would have brought a lot of division and a lot of, whatever, and messed up the way Adam's thing was. I really do. And once again, we see that today. A lot of men want to shelter their women from other women because of that, you know. Um, but I think it's selfish and one sided, and I think it's it's not going to last long if you're just trying to hide your woman off with just you so that you can do things the way you want it. Um, because eventually she's going to get to other women. She's going to I mean, somewhere down the line, she's going to meet other women, whether it's a job, whether it's family, whether it's at this point online, whether it's whatever, and that other woman is going to cause her to look at her life and her situation and her man and like, oh, well, you don't wear makeup at all? Like, why? Like, why he don't want you to wear makeup or whatever? why he don't want you to, because once again, quite honestly, in situations that I was in, um, I had other women open my eyes. I really did. And it was just like, I never even looked at things like that. But when I did, um, I saw things a lot different. And I'm not saying that any of that is what caused in my last relationship anything to break down. It was me, it was God, it was my own spirit, it was me listening, and it wasn't another woman. But I have had that in the past relationships, because I've been married more than once, but came from a very naive standpoint. And let me say also, I think it's important that women do have friends. I think it's important that women, especially who are in relationships like that, have people in her life that she can go to, that she could talk to, that she could run to. Because what I've learned is that when you're in a situation or a relationship with a man who wants to keep you sheltered and wants to keep just us by ourselves, and he's always the victim, and your family don't like me, your friends don't like me, and just always wanting it just to be y'all. It's never good. It's never good, because like I say, he's he's doing it for a reason, and it's about domination and control. um just to veer off just a little bit, and I'm gonna be finished here in just a minute. I saw a movie yesterday, and I don't know, maybe I'll go over this movie with you guys eventually, but this movie was crazy. I'm not going to bring up the name of it or anything, but it was crazy. But it was a domineering father. I actually want to get the book. It's off of a book. Um, I'm going to tell you. It's called The Girl in the Basement, and it just came across my YouTube timeline. I happened to see it and whatever, and I just looked at it, and I was absolutely intrigued by the movie. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I got emotional. I cried at a certain point in my life. That movie was very, very powerful, and it was based on a true story. And it was this woman's what she endured, and it was absolutely, man, it was crazy. But at the end of the day, the part that I wanted to bring up about the movie is that this man was able to do what he did in the movie. If you ask me, because I have not read the book, I plan on getting the book and actually reading the book. Because of course, they say the book go into so much more detail. And from the reviews that I was looking at, it's like it's more horrendous, way more horrendous than the movie. And the movie shook me up. So, but at the end of the day, I think he was able to do the things that he did because they kind of were a sheltered family. He was the dad, he was in charge, he was the man, he was you know, and I didn't see like a lot of people coming to their houses. I didn't see them having parties and gatherings and things like that. It was just that little close knit family together, and he was domineering and controlling. They said in the movie that he had hit his wife at least once, but it never only happens once. Um, and so he was able to do the things that he did, the horrific thing that he did in that movie. And I think those are the things that happen when you have a relationship like something like Adam and Eve. I really do. I don't see where the woman didn't have a lot of say. The woman didn't have a lot of any leadership or whatever, any partnership in the relationship. And I think when a man, first of all, wants that and has that, I think when I look at things, it always works out that it's never good. It's never good. We can look at people like another example. We can look at people like R. Kelly. R. Kelly was able to do, and I'm just using him as example. There's so many other examples. I'm not trying to bash him, whatever. I know he still got fans out there, whatever. But he was able to do what he was because he had absolute power over everybody, not only the girls, but the people in his entourage, the people who worked for him, whatever. He had whole, total, complete, absolute power. Nobody questioned him. Nobody said anything to him. He was the man. He was able to do it. He had the money. He had the means. He had the resources. And this is much like one of those fathers in a relationship like that, or a man like that, over his household. Usually, a lot of times they do very horrific things, or when they do horrific things, it's because they got all this power, they got all this authority, no one questions them, and people go along with them because I don't know if they want to stay in good standing or if they are getting some type of benefit out of whatever, keeping things quiet without, I don't know. I don't know. I think there's a whole psychology behind all of that. But anyway, getting back to the story and getting back to the situation with Adam and Eve, I think either way it goes, just in that type of situation with Adam and Eve, I think it would have turned out horrendous anyway. Yeah. Um, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that, and these are just some questions that I have. The creator and the creatrix said that uh, Adam referred to his as the creator or whatever, and Lilith spoke of herself as being created by the creatrix, which is a female deity, a female type caricature. And there's a lot of people who believe in a feminine creator. I absolutely believe in divine feminine creator. Um, she kind of seemed to say that they were doing kind of a side by side type thing. Um, and I don't know if that's what, caused I don't know if that's what caused the difference or whatever, but well, I think it absolutely caused the difference. But um, at the end of the day, one of the things I looked at, and I'm gonna cut the video off because I'm getting interrupted. But I feel like I have always, well, I haven't always said it, but I thought recently there were two different gods. When I just look at the Old Testament to the New Testament, it seems like there's two different gods. I don't have a lot of research in that or whatever, or evidence in that, but that's just kind of how I think. Uh, because the difference is so vast from Old Testament to New Testament. And that would bring up a lot of, I mean, I don't know if it's two different aspects of God, two different creators. I mean, I don't really know, but it just seems to me that it's a difference between Old Testament God and the New Testament God or whatever. If you want to go into Jesus, I mean, I don't know. But Lilith brought it up. Lilith said it. Um, there's a whole lot of writings and literature on the female deity and creators and things, well, not creators, but So I think it's a real big possibility. Y'all can let me know what you think. I'm going to cut the video off. This has been great. I could have continued on, but got to go to work. So you guys, but hit the notification button. Um, please let me know what you guys think. Um, and until the next video, thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. Um, don't forget to hit the notification so that you'll know whenever I upload a video. To the next video, I'll see you next time.